He had been feeling the weight of time for a long time. The days had passed with work and responsibilities, and he'd barely noticed how much distance had grown between him and his daughter. She was growing up fast, and every missed moment added a little more weight to his chest. The mornings he spent rushing out for meetings, the evenings he returned exhausted, left little space for them to connect. He remembered when she was smaller, she would run toward him with open arms and a laugh that could light up a room. Those days felt like another lifetime. He wanted to believe they could come back. He wanted to believe he could still make things right. But the fear of rejection and the memory of arguments kept him hesitant. The mother of his daughter reached out one day, suggesting he'd spend some time with her. It was framed as a last try, as though the chance might not come again. That wording settled in his mind. He agreed, because deep inside he wanted to try, even if he did not know how to start. He prepared for the day with a mix of nerves and hope. He thought about what they could do together, how he could bridge the years of distance. He wanted to listen to her stories and maybe share some of his own. He wanted to show her that he cared, that she still mattered to him. When he arrived, he took a deep breath before stepping inside the house. Felt familiar and yet different. So many moments had passed without him. He could hear the soft sounds of life within a space that held memories both bitter and sweet. He wondered if she would even recognize him in the way that mattered, if she would remember the warmth they had shared before the distance grew. He tried to imagine how she had been feeling. He pictured her waiting, perhaps expecting him to arrive late or not at all. He wondered if she had hoped he would come, or if she had already prepared herself for disappointment. He did not want to fail her again then. He heard the soft sound of little footsteps approaching. It was a sound that made his heart race, a mix of anxiety and anticipation. She appeared in the doorway, holding something in her small hands. Her eyes met his with a curious mixture of hope and challenge. He could not see clearly what she held, but he sensed the significance of the moment. He remembered the little things from the past, like bedtime stories and quiet afternoons spent drawing together. He recalled how she used to talk endlessly about the smallest details of her day and how he used to listen. Even when he was tired, he realized he had forgotten those days too easily, and that those small moments had built the foundation of their bond. He wanted to speak, but words felt heavy in his throat. He wanted to ask her about school, about friends, about what she liked to do now, but he worried he might sound awkward or unsure. She waited patiently, offering him space to respond, or perhaps waiting for him to take the lead. He had not realized how much courage it took to rebuild a connection that had been frayed by years of distance. The air between them was full of unspoken emotion. He felt a tug in his chest as he tried to process the mixture of fear and hope and longing. He wanted to apologize for the time he had missed, but he did not know if words could carry the depth of his feelings. He wanted to express love, but feared it might sound empty after so many absences. As he stepped closer, he noticed the object in her hands. It was small and familiar, though worn from use. It reminded him of a past filled with laughter and shared moments. He realized that whatever she was offering him, it was a symbol of trust and a bridge between the years apart. He thought about how children can hold on to hope in ways adults often forget. He saw the simplicity and honesty in her gesture, and it made him ache with a desire to respond in kind. He wanted to be present fully, without hesitation, without the weight of guilt holding him back. He wanted to be the father he had always hoped to be, even if it had taken years to arrive at this moment. She held out the object a little shyly, as if testing the waters of this renewed connection. He felt tears welling up, though he tried to keep them back. He realized that love can persist quietly. Even through absence, even through mistakes, it waits patiently for moments like this to resurface. He knelt to be at her level, feeling the years of distance fall away a little with each heartbeat. The room seemed to grow warmer as he focused on her eyes, on the small gesture that spoke more than words could convey. He could feel the beginning of a bond reawakening, the possibility of understanding and shared moments that had been missing. Remembered the first time she had hugged him tight, and how safe and important it had made him feel. She was offering something similar now, but in a more subtle way, a toy, a token, a piece of memory that carried meaning beyond its small size. He realized that she wanted him to see her and to meet her in the space they still shared. He opened his hands slowly, as if to receive what she offered with care and respect. There was a vulnerability in her posture, a quiet hope that he would accept and understand. he felt a sense of responsibility to honor that hope, to be the person she could rely on again. He wanted to show her that, even though years had passed, he still cherished her. And the moments that mattered, time seemed to slow as he focused entirely on her. The outside world faded and the past and future merged into the present moment. He felt the tension of missed opportunities release, just slightly replaced by the fragile excitement of a beginning. He knew that this could be the start of healing if he was patient, if he listened. If he allowed himself to be open to love without fear. He spoke softly, even though words were not enough. He thanked her for the gesture and acknowledged the importance of what she held in her hands. He wanted her to know that he understood and that he was ready to take the steps to rebuild what had been frayed. He wanted to prove that he could be there, not just today, but moving forward in ways that mattered. She smiled a small, shy smile that made his heart ache with tenderness. It was a sign that she was willing to meet him halfway, that she had faith in his willingness to try, that she believed in the bond that had never fully disappeared. They sat together quietly, letting the connection grow in silence and understanding and presence. Thought about the many afternoons and evenings that lay ahead, the stories they could share, the laughter they could create. He realized that rebuilding a bond is not about grand gestures, but about showing up consistently, about noticing the small moments, about being there even when life is busy or complicated. Promised himself that he would take the time to be fully present, that he would listen with intention and respond with love, that he would not allow the past mistakes to define the future. He felt a sense of commitment and purpose that made the nerves settle into a calm determination. She looked up at him once more, holding the object between them. It was more than a toy. It was a symbol of connection, of forgiveness, of hope, of shared love. He felt the significance deeply, knowing that the path forward would require patience, understanding, and vulnerability, but that it was possible and meaningful. The rest of the day passed in a blend of small talks and quiet companionship. They shared stories of the week of school, of interests, of small victories and worries. He listened attentively, trying to capture each detail, trying to be part of her world again. He realized that the effort was worth it, that the warmth he felt in her presence could outweigh the years of distance. When it was time to leave, he felt a gentle sadness mingled with hope. He knew that they had begun something important, that the bond was slowly being nurtured back to life. He thanked her for her patience, for her trust, for the simple gesture that had spoken louder than words. As he walked away, he reflected on the journey that had led to this moment. The hesitations, the regrets, the missed opportunities, all felt like lessons guiding him toward being a better presence in her life. He understood that it was never too late to try again, that small steps could lead to meaningful change. He carried with him the image of her holding out the object, the look in her eyes, the quiet trust that had bridged years of distance. He felt determined to honor that trust, to nurture the bond, to show up consistently in ways that mattered. He realized that love can be renewed if one approaches it with patience, presence, and sincerity. The day ended with him feeling a cautious optimism. He understood that rebuilding a bond is a journey, not a single event that it takes time, attention, and care to truly reconnect. He felt grateful for the opportunity to try again, for the chance to show up for the person who mattered most. He knew that this first step would be remembered for years to come, and that it could be the foundation for a stronger connection. He looked forward to the next meeting, to the shared moments, the laughter, and the quiet talks. He understood that the path ahead would not always be easy, but that it was worth every effort. He carried a renewed sense of purpose and commitment, knowing that each moment spent together was a chance to heal and to love in ways that words alone could not express. He arrived at the house feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. The memory of the last encounter lingered in his mind, the way she had held out the small object. The look in her eyes, the quiet trust he felt made him wonder how the day would unfold. He took a deep breath before stepping inside, hoping that he could be present fully without the distractions of the outside world. The living room looked familiar, yet different enough to remind him that time had passed. He noticed the little changes, the new pictures on the wall, the books stacked neatly on the shelves, the small details that showed she was growing up. He realized that these changes reflected her life unfolding without him, and it made him want to be part of it more than ever. He could hear soft footsteps approaching, and his heart jumped. He waited quietly, hoping she would feel comfortable. He wanted to show that he was patient, that he would not rush her, but that he was there ready to engage. Whenever she was ready, she appeared holding something in her hands again. And this time he could see it clearly. It was a small toy from their past, a toy that they had shared together during happy times. Her eyes met his with curiosity and anticipation. He noticed a shy smile playing on her lips. She held the toy out toward him as if inviting him into her world. Once again, he felt a wave of emotion wash over him, the mixture of nostalgia, hope, and a deep longing to reconnect. He knelt to be closer to her level, wanting to meet her in the space she had created. They started with small gestures. She handed him the toy, and he took it carefully as though it was a precious gift because it was. He thanked her softly and acknowledged the importance of the moment. She nodded slightly, and the connection seemed to grow in the quiet exchange without a need for many words. He asked about her day, about school, and her friends. She answered with enthusiasm and sometimes with hesitation. He listened attentively, trying to remember the little things about her life that he had missed. She shared stories about her classes, about a project she was working on, about moments that had made her happy or frustrated. He noticed the way her eyes lit up when she talked about something she loved, and it reminded him of why he wanted to be there. He shared some of his own experiences, to carefully choosing words that she could understand and relate to. He talked about small moments at work, about things he had seen during the week, and he tried to include humor and warmth so that the conversation would feel natural. She listened intently, asking questions, and sometimes teasing him gently about things he had said. The rhythm of conversation began to flow more easily. They moved to the couch, and he noticed how she curled up comfortably while holding the toy. He felt a sense of safety and trust in the room and realized that these small acts of comfort were the beginning of rebuilding a stronger bond. He wanted to be attentive and to make her feel valued and heard. He knew that presence mattered more than perfection. He remembered how she used to love to draw, and he suggested they try it together. She hesitated at first, but then agreed, and they gathered paper and crayons. He watched her carefully choosing colors and creating small pictures while he tried to make simple drawings. They laughed quietly at the differences in style and enjoyed the shared moment without feeling forced or awkward. The hours passed in a gentle flow. They moved between talking, drawing, playing with the toy, and sharing snacks. She asked questions about his life, and he answered honestly, trying to be approachable and sincere. He noticed the small gestures she made, the way she looked at him when she wanted attention, the subtle ways she sought connection. He tried to respond with warmth and patience. They discovered new common ground. She had developed interests he had not expected, and he found himself fascinated by her perspective on things. He asked questions and listened more than he spoke, appreciating the chance to understand her world. He realized that reconnecting meant being open to change and learning about who she had become. At one point, she suggested a game. They sat on the floor and played quietly, laughing softly. When something funny happened, he observed how much she had grown and how her personality shone through. She challenged him gently in the game, and he adapted with a smile, enjoying the balance of play and conversation. The interaction reminded him that these small shared moments were the foundation of trust and love. He noticed the little things she did naturally, the way she adjusted the toy in her hands, how she made sure he was comfortable, how she responded to his words and gestures. It showed that she was aware of his presence and that she cared about the connection. They were both learning how to interact again after a long pause, and each small action mattered. They paused for a snack, and he watched her eat carefully, enjoying the simplicity of the moment. He realized that rebuilding a bond was about being present in these everyday moments, noticing the details and engaging without judgment. He tried to show appreciation for her company and encouraged her to share more about what made her happy or worried. She brought up a story from school that had made her laugh. He listened carefully, laughing gently along with her, trying to capture the joy she expressed. He remembered the many times he had missed these little stories and felt a renewed determination to be present for them moving forward. He wanted to be part of her life consistently, not just in isolated moments. They continued to talk and play through the afternoon. The room felt lighter and warmer as they shared stories and laughter. He noticed how her comfort with him grew with each passing hour. She leaned in more naturally, engaged more freely, and offered small gestures of affection, such as holding the toy up to him or resting her hand on his arm. He received them with gratitude and care. He reflected on the emotions he felt during this day. The mix of joy, relief, hope, and cautious optimism created a sense of purpose. He realized that he was capable of building a bridge over the years of absence, and that she was willing to meet him halfway. The day was teaching him that love can be rekindled with patience, sincerity, and attention to small details. As the afternoon turned to evening, they paused to rest. He noticed her fatigue and suggested a quiet moment together. They sat side by side, quietly appreciating the presence of each other without pressure or expectation. He realized that some of the most meaningful connections happen in silence, when two people feel seen and valued. He thought about the past and the mistakes he had made, but he chose to focus on the present opportunity. He wanted to honor this moment by being fully attentive and engaged. He reminded himself that rebuilding a relationship is a gradual process that requires consistency, patience, and vulnerability, and that each positive interaction is a step forward. She suggested another activity, and he followed her lead. They created simple crafts and worked together on small projects. The shared attention and cooperation allowed them to experience teamwork and enjoyment. The day flowed naturally, without the need for grand gestures or overthinking. He felt satisfaction in the simplicity and sincerity of their interactions. He observed how her personality shone through. She was thoughtful, playful, curious, and perceptive. He responded to each aspect with encouragement and understanding, trying to match her energy without being overwhelming. He realized that being present meant adjusting to her pace and interests, and that he was learning as much as she was. By the end of the day, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The small steps they had taken together had created a bond that felt fragile yet promising. He knew that this day alone could not erase the years of absence, but it could lay the foundation for consistent care, attention, and shared joy. He said goodbye with a quiet promise to return soon. She smiled gently, holding the toy and giving him a small wave. He felt a warmth in his chest and a renewed determination to nurture the bond they had spent the day reconnecting through shared presence and attention to each other's world, and it felt like a meaningful new beginning. Walking away, he reflected on the lessons of the day: the importance of listening, the value of small gestures, the need for patience and sincerity. He understood that love is demonstrated in consistent actions and shared moments rather than grand speeches or promises. He felt hope that, with time, effort, and attention, he could rebuild the connection and be a reliable presence in her life. Afternoon had shown him that they could enjoy each other's company again, that laughter and conversation could flow naturally, and that small gestures could communicate trust and affection. He left feeling motivated to continue being present and attentive, and confident that each day spent together could strengthen the bond further. He looked forward to the next meeting, to the continued conversations, the games, the shared stories, and the quiet moments of connection. He understood that the process would take time, but that each interaction mattered, and that love could be rekindled if approached with care and sincerity. He carried the memory of the day with him, and a renewed commitment to being there consistently. He returned the next day feeling a sense of anticipation and curiosity. He thought about the small steps they had taken yesterday and wondered how he could continue to nurture the connection. He wanted to make the day meaningful without overwhelming her or himself. He wanted to be patient, attentive, and fully present in the moments they would share. When he entered the house, he could already sense her excitement. She was waiting in the living room, holding the small toy again. This time she had arranged a few other things around it, creating a little scene of imagination and play. He smiled inwardly, seeing how she expressed herself, and realized that her creativity was a bridge to understanding her world. He knelt down to greet her, fully acknowledging the space she had created. She showed him the setup and explained how each part mattered to her. He listened carefully, asking questions and paying attention to her explanations. He wanted her to feel heard, to feel that her thoughts and ideas were valued and important. They started by playing a pretend game. Together, using the toy as a main character, the game flowed naturally. And he let her lead while occasionally contributing small ideas. He noticed the way she smiled when he followed her lead, and the way she laughed when something unexpected happened. The play became a language through which they communicated without the weight of past misunderstandings. He observed the subtle ways she communicated, trust her gestures, her eye contact, and her willingness to involve him in her imaginative world showed that she felt comfortable and safe. He realized that rebuilding trust is not only about words, but about consistent actions that show respect, care, and attention. They paused for a snack, and he took the opportunity to ask more about her day at school. She shared stories about friends, about challenges she faced, and little accomplishments that made her proud. He listened attentively, offering encouragement and validating her feelings. He noticed how these small affirmations strengthened the bond and made her more willing to share. After the snack, they moved to a corner of the room where she had a small art station she wanted to create a picture inspired by the toy. They spent time drawing, coloring, and cutting shapes, working side by side. The atmosphere was calm and focused, yet filled with warmth and connection. They talked quietly about colors, choices, and ideas, allowing natural conversation to flow alongside the activity. He reflected on the importance of shared activities. He realized that being present in her world required him to enter her spaces of interest without judgment and to participate with sincerity. He noticed how the simple act of spending time together in an activity she loved helped rebuild familiarity and trust. As they worked on their art project, she shared a memory from when she was younger, a time they had played together, and how much it had meant to her. She spoke softly, but clearly, with a hint of emotion, and he felt a deep warmth in his chest listening to her recall the past. He understood how powerful memory and shared experiences could be in reconnecting them. He told a story from his own childhood related to what she had shared. She listened intently, asking questions about how he felt and what he did. He noticed her interest and engagement and realized that sharing stories allowed them both to understand each other better and to build empathy. The exchange was simple yet profound and created a new layer of connection. They continued to play with the toy, integrating it into new games and narratives. She led the storylines, and he responded with thoughtful contributions. They laughed softly and occasionally paused to discuss ideas or plan the next step in their imaginative play. The experience felt natural and unforced, creating a sense of mutual enjoyment. Noticed moments of hesitation in her when trying new ideas and offered gentle encouragement. He wanted to create an environment where she felt safe to explore and express herself without fear of judgment or failure. She responded positively and became more confident in her storytelling and plays. Took a short break to have a quiet moment on the couch. He suggested they talk about things they liked and what made them happy. She shared favorite games, books, and activities. He listened attentively and added his own preferences to create a sense of shared interest. They discovered small overlaps that allowed them to plan future activities together. Observed how her facial expressions and body language changed throughout the day. Her comfort level with him seemed to grow. She was more open in conversation, more playful in actions, and more willing to express affection in small gestures, like holding the toy up to him or resting her head briefly on his shoulder. He received these gestures with care, showing that he valued her trust. They decided to create a small storybook using the toy as the main character. She dictated the story, and he wrote it down while they drew pictures together. She laughed at the illustrations he attempted and praised the ones he drew well. The collaborative process strengthened their connection and allowed them to share creativity and imagination in a meaningful way. He reflected on how patience and attentiveness were key to these interactions. He realized that the bond could not be rebuilt with rushed actions or grand promises, but through consistent engagement in everyday moments. The day was teaching him the value of presence, of listening, and of participating fully in her world. As the afternoon progressed, they moved to a quiet corner where she wanted to read a short book. He sat with her, listening as she read aloud. He noticed the pride in her voice and the excitement in her expressions when she recognized familiar words or phrases. He offered gentle praise and guidance when necessary, Allowing her to grow in confidence and enjoy the experience fully, they shared small meals and snacks together, laughing quietly at minor mishaps. He noticed that these small shared moments were building a sense of familiarity and comfort between them. The act of eating together became more than nourishment. It became a way to reinforce connection and presence. They talked about school projects and hobbies she wanted to try. He asked questions and encouraged her ideas, making sure she knew that her thoughts and plans mattered. He realized that showing interest in her passions was an important way to nurture their bond and help her feel supported and understood. At one point, she suggested going outside for a short walk. He agreed, and they explored the yard together. He noticed how she led the way, confidently describing plants and small animals she saw. She asked him questions about what he remembered from similar experiences in his own past. He answered honestly and engaged. Fully enjoying the shared exploration, they found small treasures along the way: leaves, flowers, stones, and other objects she wanted to examine. They discussed colors, shapes, and textures. He observed how her curiosity and enthusiasm made him more attentive and engaged. The experience reminded him that shared exploration could strengthen bonds by combining learning, play, and conversation. They returned inside. They sat quietly for a few moments, reflecting on the day. She leaned slightly against him, and he felt a deep sense of warmth. He realized that the moments of quiet connection were as important as the playful and interactive ones. The day had allowed them to reconnect gradually and meaningfully without pressure. He thought about the lessons he was learning through these interactions. Patience, presence, attentiveness, and genuine interest were crucial. He recognized that every small gesture mattered, and that the cumulative effect of these shared experiences could rebuild trust and understanding. Over time, the day had reinforced his commitment to being a consistent presence. The evening approached. They decided to organize the small storybook and art projects they had created together. She showed excitement and pride in the work they had accomplished. He shared in her excitement, validating her efforts and appreciating the creativity and thought she had put into the activities. They discussed plans for future visits. She suggested new games, new stories, and new activities. He listened carefully and made notes in his mind, promising to try each one. She smiled, knowing that he was listening and that her ideas mattered. The discussion reinforced the sense of collaboration and partnership in rebuilding their connection. When it was time to leave, he felt a mixture of satisfaction and hope. The day had been filled with meaningful interactions, playful moments, and quiet reflections. He realized that the bond they were rebuilding was fragile but promising, and that consistent effort and attention could strengthen it further. He walked away, carrying the memory of her excitement, creativity, and trust in him. The small toy had once again played a central role in bridging the distance between them, but it was the shared moments and attention that truly strengthened the connection. He felt motivated to continue nurturing the bond in the days to come. He arrived at the house with a quiet excitement. He felt the anticipation of spending another day together, knowing that each moment was a chance to deepen the connection they had shared several days before, and each visit had built trust and comfort. He wanted today to be another step toward truly understanding her world and sharing his own. Shy greeted him with a smile and held the small toy close. She had prepared a little scene on the living room floor, adding new details from her imagination. He knelt to greet her fully and asked about the additions. She explained each piece with care, and he listened attentively, wanting her to feel seen and heard. They started with the toy game again, but this time she added new storylines. She directed the play, and he contributed small suggestions. The game flowed naturally, and they laughed quietly at unexpected twists. She was more confident in guiding the narrative, and he responded with patience and encouragement. He noticed the small gestures of trust she offered, the way she looked up to see if he understood the story, the way she involved him in her imaginative world, the way she shared her thoughts without hesitation. Each of these moments showed that she felt comfortable with him and that their bond was strengthening. After some time, they moved to the art corner. She had new ideas for drawing and crafting. He joined her in creating pictures and small projects. They talked quietly about colors and shapes and about stories the pictures could tell. He noticed how engaged she was and how proud she felt when showing her creations. He shared stories from his own life, carefully selecting experiences that could be relatable. She asked questions, about how he felt during those times, and he answered honestly. She listened intently and offered small observations. He realized that sharing personal stories helped them understand each other better and created empathy between them. They took a short break to enjoy a small snack. He asked about her friends and activities at school. She shared little victories and small challenges, and he responded with encouragement and interest. He noticed how these conversations made her more comfortable, expressing herself, and how they allowed him to connect more deeply with her daily life. After the break, they returned to play. The toy became part of a new imaginary adventure. She led the storylines, and he responded creatively, supporting her ideas. They laughed softly and occasionally paused to discuss how the story would continue. The interaction felt natural and collaborative, creating a sense of partnership and enjoyment. He observed her curiosity and thoughtfulness, the way she asked questions about his thoughts and experiences, the way she suggested ideas for their games and stories, the way she considered his responses, all demonstrated a growing sense of trust and connection. He felt proud of the progress they were making and motivated to continue nurturing the relationship. They moved to a quiet corner for reading. She picked a short story and read aloud while he listened attentively. He praised her efforts and offered guidance. When needed, she smiled at his encouragement and read with more confidence. He realized that these quiet, focused moments were as important as playful activities in building trust and comfort. They discussed hobbies and activities she wanted to explore. He asked questions and showed genuine interest making. Sure, she knew her ideas mattered, she suggested new games and projects, and he promised to try them in future visits. They discovered more common interests and shared experiences that strengthened the bond and gave them ideas for future interactions. He noticed small gestures of affection, such as leaning slightly toward him or holding the toy up to show something. She expressed comfort and trust through these subtle actions. He responded with care and attentiveness, showing that he valued her trust and was committed to being present consistently. Decided to work on a collaborative storybook. The toy was the main character, and they created illustrations and wrote narratives together. She guided the plot, and he supported her ideas, adding details that complemented her vision. The process was collaborative and enjoyable, creating shared memories and a sense of accomplishment. He reflected on the importance of patience and presence in rebuilding their connection. He realized that consistent engagement in small, meaningful moments was more effective than grand gestures or promises. The day was teaching him that trust and love could be strengthened gradually through attention, care, and sincere interest. They paused to relax and reflect on the day. The quiet moments of sitting together, sharing thoughts, and observing each other without distractions strengthened the emotional bond. He realized that sometimes simply being present and attentive is enough to convey care and love. He thought about the future and the steps needed to continue nurturing the relationship. He understood that building a strong bond required ongoing effort, listening, and flexibility. He made a mental note to plan more activities that allowed her to express herself and feel valued. She suggested going outside to explore the yard. He agreed, and they walked together, noticing small details and discussing what they saw. They shared observations about plants, insects, and the shapes and colors in their environment. He asked questions to encourage her thinking, and she responded enthusiastically, sharing her knowledge and curiosity. They collected small natural treasures like leaves and stones and discussed their textures, colors, and shapes. The shared exploration strengthened their connection through curiosity and mutual engagement. He realized that these simple experiences were meaningful because they allowed them to share attention and thoughts without pressure. Back inside, they continued with crafts and imaginative play, integrating the treasures they found into their stories and projects. She was proud of her ideas and the way they contributed to the stories. They discussed new possibilities for the narratives, and he encouraged her creativity, showing that he valued her input and imagination. He observed how her confidence and comfort grew throughout the day. She shared ideas freely, expressed emotions, and engaged enthusiastically in the activities. He responded with encouragement, listening, presence reinforcing the sense of trust and connection they had built. They enjoyed a quiet snack together, discussing small details of the day and their favorite moments. She reflected on what she had enjoyed, and he validated her, Experiences and feelings they shared, laughter and gentle conversation, creating more shared memories and deepening the bond. They returned to their collaborative storybook and added final touches to the illustrations and narratives. She was proud of the work they had accomplished together, and he expressed genuine appreciation for her ideas and efforts. The shared project became a tangible representation of their connection and progress. He reflected on the lessons from the day about listening, being present, and valuing small moments. She had taught him patience, attentiveness, and the importance of following her lead in ways that made her feel secure and valued. He realized that the bond was strengthening through consistent engagement, empathy, and shared experiences. The day came to a close. He prepared to leave with a sense of accomplishment and hope. She smiled and held the toy, showing that she had enjoyed the day and felt connected to him. He felt gratitude for the opportunity to spend time together and a commitment to continue nurturing the bond through consistent presence and attention. Walking away, he reflected on the moments of play, creativity, conversation, and quiet connection. They had spent a full day engaged in meaningful interactions that strengthened trust, comfort, and understanding. He carried the memory of her excitement, creativity, and trust, motivated to continue building a strong and lasting connection in the days ahead. He arrived at the house feeling a gentle excitement. The days they had spent together had slowly rebuilt trust and connection. He hoped today would continue that process and provide more shared moments that could strengthen the bond between them. She greeted him, holding the small toy close and a few other items she had chosen for imaginative play. She showed him how she had arranged a new scene on the living room floor. He knelt to her level and asked about each addition. She explained the storylines and characters with enthusiasm, and he listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions to show he valued her ideas. They began by incorporating the new items into imaginative games. The toy became a hero in adventures she created, and he contributed by supporting the storylines and adding small ideas. She laughed softly at the twists and turns, and he joined in with quiet amusement. The playful interaction allowed them to communicate naturally and bond through creativity. He noticed the subtle ways she expressed trust. She shared her thoughts openly and involved him in her imaginative world. Without hesitation, each small gesture of inclusion reinforced their growing connection. He understood that these moments were essential for rebuilding the bond gradually and sincerely. After some time, they moved to the art area. She wanted to draw scenes inspired by their imaginative play. He joined her, and together they created pictures and small crafts. They discussed colors, shapes, and the stories behind their creations. He noticed her excitement and pride, and he expressed genuine appreciation for her efforts. Strengthening her confidence and their connection, he shared stories from his own life that related to her experiences. She listened intently and asked questions about how he felt and what he did. He realized that exchanging stories helped them understand each other better and deepened the sense of empathy between them. They laughed together over shared memories and small anecdotes, creating a warm and inclusive atmosphere. They took a short snack break and discussed school, friends, and hobbies. She shared recent accomplishments and little challenges, and he responded with encouragement and interest. He noticed that these conversations made her more comfortable expressing herself and allowed him to connect more deeply with her daily life. After the break, they returned to imaginative play, expanding the toys' adventures and adding new characters. She led the storylines confidently, and he responded creatively, supporting her ideas. The natural flow of interaction created a sense of partnership and enjoyment that neither forced nor rushed. He observed her curiosity and thoughtfulness, the questions she asked, the ideas she suggested, and the way she considered his responses all demonstrated a growing sense of trust. He felt proud of the progress they were making and motivated to continue nurturing the relationship. They moved to a quiet corner for reading. She selected a short story and read aloud. While he listened attentively, he offered gentle praise and guidance when necessary, allowing her to grow in confidence. She smiled at his encouragement and read with enthusiasm, enjoying the focused attention and shared quiet moments. They discussed hobbies and activities she wanted to explore. He asked questions and showed genuine interest. Validating her ideas, she suggested new games and creative projects, and he promised to try them in future visits. They discovered more common interests and shared experiences, giving them ideas for future interactions and strengthening their bond. He noticed her growing comfort throughout the day. She shared ideas freely, expressed emotions, and engaged enthusiastically in the activities. He responded with care and attention, reinforcing her trust and the sense of security they had built. They decided to create a collaborative storybook. The toy became the main character, and they worked together on illustrations and narratives. She guided the story, and he supported her ideas, adding details that complemented her vision. The process allowed them to share creativity and imagination meaningfully and created tangible evidence of their growing bond. He reflected on the importance of patience and presence in rebuilding a relationship. He realized that consistent engagement in small, meaningful moments was more effective than grand gestures or promises. The day emphasized that trust and love could be strengthened gradually through attention, care, and genuine interest. They paused to relax and reflect on the day, the quiet moments of sitting together, observing each other without distraction, strengthened the emotional bond. He understood that sometimes simply being present and attentive conveyed care and love more effectively than words alone. He thought about the future and the steps needed to continue nurturing the relationship. He recognized that building a strong bond required ongoing effort, listening, and flexibility. He made a mental note to plan more activities that allowed her to express herself and feel valued and understood. She suggested going outside for a short walk. He agreed, and they explored the yard together, noticing small details and discussing what they saw. They shared observations about plants, animals, and other small discoveries. He asked questions to encourage her thinking, and she responded enthusiastically. Showing her curiosity and knowledge, they collected small treasures like leaves and stones and discussed their colors, textures, and shapes. The shared exploration strengthened their connection through curiosity and mutual engagement. He realized that simple experiences could be deeply meaningful because they allowed them to share attention and thoughts naturally. Back inside, they integrated the treasures into their storybook and crafts. She was proud of her contributions, and he expressed genuine appreciation for her ideas and effort. The collaborative process reinforced their sense of accomplishment and partnership. He observed how her confidence and comfort had grown. She shared ideas openly, expressed emotions, and engaged enthusiastically in activities. He responded with encouragement and presence, reinforcing trust and connection. They laughed, created, and reflected together, building layers of shared experience. They enjoyed a quiet snack, discussing highlights of the day and favorite moments. She reflected on what she enjoyed most, and he validated her experiences and feelings. They shared laughter and gentle conversation, creating more shared memories and deepening the bond. They turned to their storybook to finalize illustrations and narratives. She expressed pride in their work, and he offered sincere praise and encouragement. The project became a tangible symbol of their connection and the progress they had made in rebuilding their relationship. He reflected on the lessons from the day about listening, being present, and valuing small moments. She had taught him patience, attentiveness, and the importance of following her lead to make her feel secure and valued. He realized the bond was growing stronger through consistent engagement, empathy, and shared experiences. As the day came to a close, he prepared to leave with a sense of accomplishment and hope. She smiled, holding the toy, showing that she had enjoyed the day and felt connected to him. He felt gratitude for the opportunity to spend time together and a commitment to continue nurturing the bond through consistent presence and attention. Walking away, he reflected on the playful moments, creative activities, conversations, and quiet reflections they had spent the day building trust, comfort, and understanding through meaningful interactions. He carried the memory of her excitement, creativity, and trust, motivated to continue strengthening a lasting and loving connection in the days ahead. He understood that their journey was ongoing and required dedication and patience. He felt confident that with continuous effort, the bond would grow stronger and more resilient. He left with a sense of fulfillment and hope, knowing that love, presence, and attention had begun to heal past distance and create a meaningful connection for the future.